While exploring an inconspicuous corner of the capital wasteland, Fallout 3's Vault Dweller stumbled across something terrifying. Inside the very ordinary-looking Dunwich Building, evil lurked. I covered the spine-chilling events which followed in detail in my last video, click the card on screen now to watch that, but suffice to say, all was not well. A man named Jamie had left a series of audio diaries detailing his descent into madness while searching for his missing father. Inexplicable phenomena occurred, a door opened of its own accord, a flash of the past was visible for just a second, and objects moved without being touched. And in a cave deep in the basement, inhuman whispers cut through the silence, while nearby a ghoulish Jamie worshipped a strange obelisk covered in skulls which jutted out from the rock. After putting an end to the poor man's misery, the Vault Dweller left to continue on their travels, relieved to still be alive after a brush with the devil. They had many questions, but were happy enough never to find the answers. If you played Fallout 3 at launch, that was the end of the affair for you too. The story ended when you left the Dunwich Building, at least until the game's fourth piece of downloadable content landed 8 months later. Introducing Point Lookout, an entirely new area featuring an escapade separated from the capital wasteland by a boat ride, the tale it tells is one mostly disconnected from that which unfolds on the mainland. But not entirely. There are many weird and wonderful locations to discover as you explore the swampland, and one of the first you'll likely set eyes on is the Disaster Relief Outpost. Situated a stone's throw from where you dock, it's little more than a collection of tents set up by a missionary named Marcella.
We try to improve the state of the wasteland by doing good where we can, and by spreading the word of the Bible. We also recover and restore religious relics that we can find, but that's a secondary goal.
Her history and her thoughts regarding the area are interesting enough, but the juiciest tidbit is contained within one of the logs found on her terminal. She writes that she met a local named Obadiah Blackhall who asked her to retrieve a family heirloom, a book. Marcella investigates and later provides an update which reads, "Confirmed Blackhall connection with regional beliefs. Appears that a recent ancestor to Obadiah named Constance Blackhall acquired obscure text known as the Krivbeknih. Not good. Have heard mention of the book before. Must destroy." You won't have to wait long to meet Obadiah himself. As you continue on your travels, you'll eventually spot a huge house over the horizon, Blackhall Manor. Outside, unusual decorations line the path to its front door, and inside there are a couple of troubling discoveries to be made. Downstairs, cutlery sits atop a billiards table also decorated with a bloody handprint, and upstairs there is a human skull on a plinth. Obadiah Blackwall sits in a wheelchair nearby, and speaking with him you can begin the quest, the Dark Heart of Blackwall. He asks that you retrieve a book, presumably the Krivbeknih mentioned by Marcella in her log, which he believes the swamp folk have.
I'm glad you think so. Conversation is but one of the virtues that separate us from cretins like those swamp folk. Swamp folk who, I should mention, absconded with a book, a precious family heirloom. I wanted to ask you, friend, will you get it back?
Apparently, it's not just any old book either.
They think the book has a kind of occult power. Superstition and nonsense, of course.
With 1,000 caps up for grabs should you succeed, there's no time to lose. As soon as you step foot back in the swamp, Marcella appears, begging you to reconsider.
Obadiah's no better than the heathens he's asked you to steal it from. He believes he can use it to control them, and God knows what else. There's a way to destroy that damned thing. I intend to do just that.
Next, you have 2 jobs to do. First, you need to find and secure the book, and then you'll have to make a choice about what to do with it. Marcella will return to her outpost after your conversation, and while you can seek her out, she has little else to say. The same is true of Obadiah too. The only thing left to do is head to the ritual site, the entrance to which is guarded by several swamp folk you'll have to cut down to gain entry. It's worth noting that you can head here whenever you please, even if you've not started the quest, but unless you've done so, the path leading further underground will be blocked. It's unlikely you'll have realised that the Dunwich Building and the quest you're embarking on at present are connected prior to arriving here, given the only common thread is a mysterious book mentioned only briefly by Jamie.
No more killing. I just need to go. Can't forget the book. All I have left of him.
The link between them now starts to become much clearer. When you reach the caves at the bottom of the Dunwich Building, an unnatural voice could be heard. which sounds almost the same, if not identical, to that heard here. Within a temple of some description, you can also find strange liquid bubbling up from beneath the earth, and this lovely scene one can assume was the handiwork of the swamp folk. Deeper still, you'll find this distressing scene. A mutilated body lies on an altar, a ritual knife lodged in a dole where its head once was, with several stim packs left next to it, used perhaps to keep the poor person in question alive for as long as possible. The Krivbeknih also sits on a lectern, dampened by what appears to be fresh blood. You take it, and as you hurry to the site's exit with your prize, you'll have to fend off several more swamp folk who arrive to stop you leaving with their most valued possession. Back outside, it's time to make your choice. Considering everything that's happened, I'd wager most will return to Marcella. Unfortunately, however, when arriving at her outpost, you'll be confronted by a gang of smugglers, and inside her tent, a horrible scene awaits. Marcella has been murdered, Die Thief has been scrawled in blood on her tent, and bloody handprints have been left on her desk. They look very similar to that found on Obadiah's billiards table, coincidentally. With her dying breaths, the missionary was able to record a final message, begging you to destroy the Krivbeknih by returning somewhere you're already quite familiar with. I'm sure you can guess by now where.
In the capital wasteland, seek a place called Dunwich. Within is an obelisk, itself a wicked thing. It'll consume the book. You need only press the book to its surface.
We're not going to do that yet though. Instead, let's see what Obadiah has to say for himself. When you reveal Marcella's fate, he implies the same could happen to you, likely a veiled threat which reveals he was responsible.
Forgive my indiscretion. Still, with her death, I see no reason for you to keep hold of that book. For all you know, the same fate may befall you.
Handing over the book and collecting your caps, he gets out of the wheelchair he apparently never needed to begin with and strolls over to a previously hidden basement, unless he gets stuck trying to get there, which I had happen twice. He is getting on in years, I suppose. Inside, he bows in front of an altar upon which lies the headless body of one of the swamp folk, with many other skeletons hidden under the floorboards. He occasionally mentions an unusual name.
Qualtoth is returned. Be afraid, worms.
And Qualtoth is a name you've heard before. On a terminal in the Dunwich Building, you can find a transcription, presumably created when the machine overheard Jamie rambling, which mentions it too. If you make the decision not to give the book back to Obadiah and instead opt to destroy it once and for all, you'll need to journey back to the Dunwich Building's basement. You are then able to interact with the obelisk housed there, and when you do, you're told that it shares its origins with the Krivbeknih and that being near it makes you uneasy. Pressing the book to its surface, any ghouls nearby are set alight as energy radiates from it. You gain karma, and the Dark Heart of Blackwall is marked as completed. Okay, so armed with all the information which can possibly be gleaned from both this quest and the Vault Dweller's first trip to the Dunwich Building, here is what I think is going on. The book Jamie's father was searching for, which Jamie subsequently found in the Dunwich Building prior to turning into a ghoul, must be the Krivbeknih. An indeterminate amount of time ago, it was in the Dunwich Building, but at some point it was taken by someone who brought it over to Point Lookout. We're not privy to any further details about how that happened. It's likely the Krivbeknih is the Necronomicon, or Book of the Dead, a tome featured in the works of author H.P. Lovecraft, which contains the information needed to summon powerful ancient beings beyond humanity's comprehension. Bethesda clearly took a lot of inspiration from Lovecraft, with a big clue being mention of the names Abdul and Al-Hazred in Jamie's final audio diary.
Sharp knife to send him to Deep Temple. Flay and say my words. Abdul comes again on the feast of the weaker. Feast for the Deep Temple. Born again. Here. Al-Hazred. Yes. Yes.
In Lovecraft's works, Abdul Al-Hazred is the mystic who created the Necronomicon, and the Dunwich Building itself and the Dunwich Borers, the company housed there, are named after one of his novellas, the Dunwich Horror. I think Jamie, the Swamp Folk, and Obadiah were all attempting to perform a ritual using the Krivbeknih, which would summon a being known as Qualtoth, a ritual Marcella was trying to prevent anyone from performing successfully. Combining information from Jamie's final audio diary and terminal entry, I think he plunged a sharp knife into someone's temple, the person who was twisting and screaming in the transcription, and then flayed them while reciting words from the Krivbeknih. The swamp folk also tried to do similar, based on the headless corpse, the ritual knife, and the Krivbeknih all being found in close proximity to each other, with Obadiah heading to the basement to kneel in front of a headless swamp person as soon as the book was in his possession. It's safe to assume that was his plan too. Judging by the ridiculous number of skeletons which can also be found down there, the ritual may be one he or members of his family unsuccessfully attempted to perform many times before the Krivbeknih was taken from them. Fortunately, though, it seems that no one has yet managed to succeed, and I think that's because a crucial piece of the terrifying cosmic horror puzzle is missing. What that missing piece is, however, only became apparent following the release of Fallout 4 the best part of a decade later. Much like when I wrote about the Dunwich Building previously, I'm going to end this video on a cliffhanger, but rest assured there's more to come. Do be sure to tune in to the final chapter of this 3-part series, as we say goodbye to the Capital Wasteland and Point Lookout, and wave hello to the Commonwealth, where the sinister story continues. Thanks for watching the video, boys, girls and vault dwellers. If you had an unsettlingly good time, do consider liking, subscribing and sharing your thoughts, and hopefully I'll catch you again soon.